Hi everyone, this is Killshot 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Merge or Purge. So tonight we are going to give some alternate solutions to the Rick Grimes dilemma. I've got some good stuff. I've been reading some of your comments over the last couple days. Hope you guys are ready to get into some deep conversation because that's what we do here. And just want to thank all of you guys for being here. Sorry that the broadcast invitation didn't go out an hour early like it usually does. Some people are going to be strolling in here because this was set to notify people when the event is live. So you'll start to see people come in because now they're getting the notification. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Hopefully you're having a wonderful evening. We got some really good stuff. I see, what up? What up, killers? Good to see you. Hippo in the house. Everybody's here. We're going to check the tapes. No doubt about it. This is a very dedicated, loyal bunch of 999 Army CSI detectives, and I think we're going to be able to figure some stuff out. So I'm going to call on some of your comments. If you're new to the channel, just want to thank you for being here. Also want to invite, there are many of you that are part of the 999 Army that are here. If you guys would, if you do have a Facebook account, join us on the Walking Dead 999 Army page. We'll post our schedule, some different things on there. Even if you don't have a regular account, make a fake account just so you can pop in and check the calendar. That way, if a stream is canceled or shifted around or any of those things, you'll see the notification. Because it's just hard to communicate all this stuff through YouTube. I see some people have tons of thoughts. So that's what we're here for. We're here for tons of thoughts. Tanya Doc Stater says, fill me in on what's going on. We're going to get you going because we've talked about similar topics the last couple days. Tonight, we're going to talk about Andrew Lincoln leaving, but we're also going to talk about some other things that could happen. And Pete D is nominating none other than yours truly for the role of Rick Grimes. But Pete, the only thing that I can do that's Rick Grimes related is say, Coral, you go with me, Sean. And there's no Carl, so I can't even use my one-liner anymore. It's my one Rick Grimes line, and I'd have to come up with something else. But the thing is, Andrew Lincoln is from the UK pretending to be a Southerner. I can definitely do the Southern part. And I can probably shoot better as well, too. Just so you guys know, too, you guys see over beside Pete D's name, he has the red star. That is, some people were asking me about that. You saw The Walking Dead nerd a little bit earlier. These stars are going to be color-coded for sponsorship and length of sponsors. So there's a 1 month, a 2 month, a 6 month, a year. So every month you'll see a different color star. So it's just something, kind of we're throwing out there to reward the sponsors, just show a little bit of loyalty. And thanks so much, Pete D. Appreciate that and what you bring to the table. So let's get into one of the I got tons of theories. So we're going to combine Merge or Purge with our bold predictions because we usually do bold predictions on Wednesday, which we didn't do last night, and then tonight we've been doing Game of Thrones Thursday, which we're not doing. So we're just going to merge it all together. How about that? So I've got something, and I've been thinking about some things that you guys have been saying about the show. And I don't know if you guys remember a few streams back, is my big dilemma with Fear the Walking Dead was that they didn't have enough characters on the show to kill off the main characters. And remember we were talking, we said, well, maybe they'll have to take the vultures in. Maybe they'll be a part of a bigger group. Because right now the vultures outnumber, I don't even know what we're gonna call them. Alicia's group, Strand's group, Morgan's group. In The Walking Dead, we got the Alexandrians and the Hilltoppers and the Kingdomers. But on Fear, we don't even know what to call them. So we know what to call the vultures, and I think it's good they gave the vultures a name so we can kind of differentiate between the two groups. But if there's only like 6 people in Alicia's group, every death is going to be magnified, and anytime you run up against a group that is 20 people, you're going to lose. Like even this week, I don't know how they're going to get out of it. But I have a prediction of how they're going to get out of it. And before we get into that, I do want to point something else out. How many of you out there have played The Walking Dead Telltale games or have watched myself or someone else play The Walking Dead Telltale games? Because something really kind of occurred to me. You know, Glenn was in the game. A lot of people wanted Clementine. You know, they wanted Kenny. So Clementine and Lee, Clementine, and Kenny are probably the 3 biggest characters of the game. So Could Althea be molded after Carly? Remember Carly in the Walking Dead game? I got to thinking about that because everybody was talking about how original it was being a journalist. Well, Carly was a TV broadcaster. And she's got this crazy big tank. And I was reading an article about Maggie Grace was talking about how all this was coming about. And they said there will be a little bit of maybe a backstory or a little bit of explanation of how she came into these things. So it might be a stretch, but what if Althea is from Georgia? They didn't say where she was a journalist at. I looked through like the Walking Dead wiki to get a little bit more information on her. And you're right, Drama King, we're going to have to check the tapes. But one thing about her character is that she said that the plot keeps changing. And as soon as you think you know somebody, you'll be surprised. So I think that opens the door. Not everybody from Atlanta has a crazy deep Southern drawl accent. Just me and Rick. I don't think Carl did. Morgan doesn't. I mean, most of these people are from Atlanta on the show, and they just migrated. You know, Maggie and Rick have like the biggest Southern drawl. The other people, they just kind of work their way through it. So I'm going to ask you tonight for some of your theories, but I do want to kind of give what I think can happen. What has happened, what can still happen, and what might still happen, or something like that. I don't know. Going a little Negan mode. So, what if Fear is starting to gain some popularity? And I know that some people are thinking, okay, Fear could be the mothership. Walking Dead is still the mothership. Walking Dead is still the franchise. And Fear is getting a heck of a lot better. Why not merge Fear into The Walking Dead? They have that avenue. So I know last night we were talking about potential things for Rick. And more people are speculating that Rick's not going to die, that Rick's going to leave. Now, I don't know. I hope so, but I'm not sure. But let's say Rick dies, Maggie dies. I think it would make sense for Morgan, who's with just a few other people, and they're always going to be outnumbered, to say, where I come from, there's a community. I can get you back there. It would make more sense for Morgan to bring people back to Alexandria and kind of do what Jesus is doing out there recruiting a little bit, what Aaron has been doing out there recruiting a little bit, rather than Rick. Think about how hard it's going to be for Rick to go find Morgan. Morgan wandered off from Virginia and ended up in freaking Texas. That is not easy to do. So for Rick to go find Morgan would be like literally finding a needle in a haystack. And Morgan didn't even know he was going to Texas. And Morgan was walking, and then he was running, and then he was getting cars, and he just went wherever. So I don't think Rick is going to be doing CSI mode saying, oh, Morgan left a feather in North Carolina. Oh, Morgan left this in Tennessee. Because it's just impossible to find him where he's at right now. So the possibility of Rick leaving to find Morgan, I don't think is very good. I would tend to go along with maybe something happens to Judith, or maybe Rick goes out looking for other communities, or maybe he's out there searching for a cure. You know, all those things I could see Rick doing, but Rick going to look for Morgan doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I just think it's going to be impossible. Even if he knew Morgan was going to Texas, Texas is like a country. You're talking about cities, counties. I mean, Just all these little breakups. There's no way he could find him. But Morgan could find Rick. So, just for a moment, let's think of the possibility that Morgan sees that look, I ran, but the grass was greener. I got to go back. And now I got these people that want something. They want a community. They know how to survive. Let me lead them back. Rick leaves the show, and you bring John Dory to the show. You bring Alicia to the show. You bring Strand to the show. I think it would work. And here's... Hold on. So Drama King says, so kills, does it make more sense to just kill Rick off? It could. If you want it to be standalone and you don't want the show to be held hostage by one or two characters, you could kill Rick. But I'm talking about a dual benefit. I'm talking about something that not only could benefit The Walking Dead, but could benefit the whole franchise. So you got Madison, who's been a star. She might be on the way out. You got Rick, who's been a star. And then bam, you just turn it right over, and you take these two out, and you substitute the next two. There you go. So Rick and Madison on the way out. Morgan and John Dory back with the group. Daryl just signed a huge contract, so Daryl's definitely going to get more airtime. Whether he's a leader or not a leader, he's definitely going to get more airtime. And I'm going to get back to that in 1 second because I do have to give my super chat shout out. That's hard to say, Valar. But anyway, I'll figure it out. Hello to the 999 Army, Kill, Steph, Emmy, Kels, Bree, Sweet Tom, sponsors, and Patreons. And Valar's at work. And we'll be in and out. But thank you. Appreciate you being here. And thanks. We're going to get back to some Game of Thrones very, very soon. So, let's say Rick dies, and they want this epic death with Andrew Lincoln. I know we don't like it. I know we don't want it. But the show must go on. The franchise has to keep going. So if you want to keep the Walking Dead franchise intact, take these newly developed stars, this budding group of people, and merge Fear into the Walking Dead. Now, that leaves you a big hole with Fear the Walking Dead. No big deal. Let it go. And then if you really, really have to do a spinoff, let's try a different venue. I'm being serious here. Let's do Walking Dead up north. Let's do Walking Dead Canada. I mean, let's go North Dakota, Michigan, somewhere. Because Walking Dead has always been Atlanta, California, all in these warm areas. Let's do some frozen walkers. That could be their next spinoff. I'm not opposed to another spinoff and supporting that. But I definitely think it would keep the viewers engaged. And it would keep the popularity exactly where they need to go. And it would also, if you put these Fear the Walking Dead characters with The Walking Dead, it would give us the ability to kill characters again. Just throwing it out there. I know it sounds a little crazy, but I've seen crazier things. All right, so I'm going to open it up for a few of your comments. I'm going to jump around a little bit. Casey F. says, I think it's an excellent idea. Hey, thanks for being here. It's okay. I know the invitation went out a little bit late. So I'm going to throw out a couple questions and then call on a couple of you and read a couple of your comments. So how many people would support John on The Walking Dead? Or Morgan making a comeback? Or a Strand and Eugene conversation? I would pay to see a Strand and Eugene conversation. Right? Right Maggie B says the Morgan crossover makes sense if he's going to bring the group back. A lot of comments. Wow, I don't know which one to pick. Connie says that John could take Rick's place. So if Rick... Remember how we questioned it? Why did Morgan go back instead of Abraham? And we all want... It's like, we want to see Abraham. We want to see what happened beforehand. Morgan don't die. If the writers sent Morgan over to Fear to cross everybody on Fear over to The Walking Dead, it would be one of the most brilliant, unexpected things that we've seen in a long, long time. So maybe, maybe Bob Kirkman's watching. Maybe Scotty Boy's watching. And if they are, then maybe they can incorporate this into... They might have already... I'm sure they've already thought it out. But if Andrew told them 2 years ago and said, you know what? You got me for 2.5 years. After 9, I'm gone. I'm out. There's some other things that I want to do. Then they would have started to plan that exit. They're not going to be caught off guard. And believe me, it would also lessen the Andrew Lincoln blow. Because losing Rick is going to be a big deal. If they recast him, it's still going to be a big deal. It may work over time. The best thing that they could do, if they're not going to do something major, like get a crossover or some big new characters in there, the best thing they can do, as we discussed, is just let him leave. Let him leave. And just leave it open to the fact that he might return. But if they're going to kill him, I like the stories of Walking Dead. I've told you guys many times, I am in it till the end. But I do acknowledge that there would be a challenge. And there would be a challenge with the current group of characters they have. Because other than a handful of characters, it's going to force a lot of characters that we don't know a lot about to get more airtime, and we're going to have to get a little bit more comfortable with them. Now, the magic of writing these things is it's not too difficult to make us fall in love with a character, to make us hate a character. I mean, we're fairly easily manipulated as an audience. I mean, let's be honest. We could see one or two things and change our perspective of that person. Maybe it takes a little bit more for Negan, but Daryl's a couple of bad moves away from being an enemy. Daryl could wear out his welcome. I'm not saying he will, but he could. People started turning on Maggie a little bit after 1 or 2 instances. Enid was not spoke about very highly when she got in Michonne's face. Didn't take us long to fall for Jerry. And Eugene has manipulated us back and forth, and Father G has manipulated us back and forth. We like them, we don't like them, we like them, we don't like them. So, Talion says, I've forgotten about Nick already. Same will happen with Rick, Carl, etc. I'm going to slightly agree and disagree at the same time. Nick, I didn't think carried the show. Carl, I was okay with. Rick will be much, much tougher. I don't think the fan base is just easily going to give up on Rick. So that's the part I'm going to disagree with you on. Because, I think it was Epic Vids brought up last night. We woke up with Rick. We followed most of the story of Rick. Now, it has become a story of much, much more over time. But certainly, Rick would be the most devastating loss in Walking Dead history because of everything that's happened. So I don't know that that's just that easy to get over, because a lot of times you're going to be watching the episode. When you lose Carl, you're watching the episode to see what Rick does and to see what Negan does and see what Daryl does. You lose Rick, you do lose a good piece of the story. And I won't disagree that Rick is the main character. However, there are other characters that could step up and lead. It'll take time for another character to become the main character. Just my feeling on that. But there's also an old saying that says, quit while you're ahead. And I think if Fear the Walking Dead is onto something, in my opinion, they had 3 bad seasons. 3 average seasons. And this season is hot. This season is good. There's good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. If you took them while they're hot and crossed that group over to The Walking Dead and got rid of a couple people, there are some people in The Walking Dead that have to go. So, question for the group. Other than Rick and Maggie, I'm going to give you 4, okay, that you can't pick. So I want you to tell me who's the next to go from The Walking Dead, not including, you can't pick Rick, Maggie, Tara, or Gregory. Which characters would you sacrifice on The Walking Dead other than those 4 characters? Somebody's going to pick one of those 4 characters. Even when I do ground rules, this is a sidebar to myself. Somebody will pick Tara. Always. So we got Carol, Michonne, Eugene, Rosita, Michonne, Rosita, Jerry, and Tara. Not Tara. Eugene, Ezekiel, Father G, Rachel, Father G, Rosita. Oh, he went Pigpen Daryl. Oh, this group's going to be all over you now. Dwighty boy, Aaron. Okay. Rick leaves. Maggie leaves. And let's say you got a half of season with no Fear involvement. Who could lead The Walking Dead? Pause here because I'm going to read a few of your comments. Some people say Carol. Some people say Ezekiel. I tend to think Ezekiel. Really? That many people see Carol sticking around, taking charge with her history of not sticking around and not taking charge? See, to me, I could see, if I had to choose between Daryl and Carol, I could see Daryl more as a leader than Carol, which is hard. Carol is a boss. I don't disagree with that. But Carol doesn't have a high threshold for pressure. And who only knows, like, when she's going to start counting all those people she killed again. But Daryl does make mistakes and makes bad decisions. You're right. I don't disagree with that. So the Ezekiel definitely had he had all the leadership qualities, and he kind of went in remission whenever he lost Shiva. Understandable. But we might not be totally comfortable with Ezekiel's leadership style for the whole group right away, because he was a little quirky with the kingdom, but it worked. But his belief, his seeing the bigger picture, his caring about people could be the type of thing to motivate him and propel him. I would not have a problem with seeing Ezekiel take over as the lead on the show. I just don't know that all the Alexandrians are going to buy into the whole king thing. See, that's the part. Fake it till you make it, baby. But I think that most of the people are going to think it's too corny to follow along with it. It worked for Ezekiel's group. But I honestly can't comprehend Eugene calling Ezekiel your majesty. I cannot see it happening. And Negan, I don't see Negan buying into it either. All right. Let's transition over to one thing here. Because there's a lot of potential stories, and we are going to have to... We're still going to talk about Merge or Purge, about which characters should be, offed, should leave the show, how a potential merge could work, just some bigger picture things. What is the deal with Dwight? Is Dwight going to look for Sherry? Is he going to find Sherry? Is he going to see the whispers and see a bigger threat? Is he going to run back and try to be a member of Alexandria? I mean, where do you guys see Dwight? Clearly he's not going to die. Daryl spared him. There's a bigger thing in store for Dwight. Maggie, I don't think that's possible. All right, so let me say this from a viewer perspective. And because some of it is joking, some of it is in jest. But honestly, I've heard a lot of people say, this person's going to cross over, Madison's going to cross over. Let me explain this again. It would be so unbelievable and so far-fetched for anyone else to randomly go from one show to the next without Morgan being the navigator. It's impossible. Because if you don't have that knowledge, if you don't tell somebody exactly where you're going, if you don't have a road map, they're never going to find it. So, and I'm not trying to, diffuse other people's theories, because some of mine are wacky, and I get it, they're out there. I'm just saying, from a fan, if I turned on the TV and The Walking Dead and Luciana just happened to be on The Walking Dead. Hey, look who we found. Walking up Highway 95. Oh, where'd you come from? I'm from Texas. That ain't going to work. It's not going to happen that way. Any additional crossovers have to be connected to Morgan. Because Morgan only found the Fear people based on sheer coincidence. He wasn't looking for anybody. So if it were to happen, it would be the most amazing thing in the history of amazing things. So the only way it could happen, even if Rick tried to find Morgan, it's not feasible. But if Morgan takes 8, 9, 10 people back and shepherds them back the way he came, that's believable to me. That's doable. Because Morgan's already been there. And look, Fear's in its 4th season. It's not failing. But I'm going to go back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. There's a cliche that says, quit while you're ahead. So as Fear has some momentum, there's nothing wrong with ending Fear after 5 seasons. Why not let next season be Fear's last season, and the second half of season 5 have Morgan taking them back to Alexandria? And that might buy you just enough time to get to season 10 of The Walking Dead, which is where they're going to need something. Then you give it a year or so, and people want to know, hey, what's a zombie apocalypse like in Canada? What's it like in New York City? What's it like in Boston? What's it like in Montana? What's it like, where the weather's a little bit different? Then do another spinoff. That's the direction that I would go with it. So I would merge it, which would allow you, the play on words in the title, to purge more characters. Because you also have to understand, there's 2 things that go into this. There's the business of entertainment, and then there's the business of paying the people that work there. So if you have, and Andrew chose to walk, but if you have Andy and Jeffrey and Norman and Lauren, and you bring a bunch of big stars over, the show has got to be killing the ratings to pay all those salaries. What it also allows you to do, when you continue to have star after star after star, eventually you're going to have to write a few characters off the show. And right now I feel like the writers are handcuffed. If you kill people too fast, you're in fear of killing someone's favorite character, and then, there's the threat of boycott of the show. If you don't kill characters, you're going to run your payroll up so much. And what's also going to happen, and we've seen this before, when you have too many main characters on the show, the story gets watered down. I mean, remember some of the storylines in 7? And you're like, where's Rick? Oh, why has it been a couple episodes since we saw Carl? What's going on with Oceanside? You tell all these stories, then you got actors that are making a boatload of money, $500,000, $600,000 an episode, and they're getting cameo appearances. Sexy feminine goddess you're going to have to explain to me how Madison gets to Alexandria. Just curious. Dawn of the Frank, I don't know. It's a question they couldn't pay Lauren. I think the question, it's not about just giving money to an actor. It's about what role that actor is potentially going to play. And if you want star money, you're going to have a star role. And I don't know that they saw Maggie's character being a star on the show. She has a storyline. She definitely can lead the Hilltop, but you just don't know how much interaction that they were willing to pay for. I kind of saw a couple people were talking about how expensive CGI was, and this sort of cracked me up. Let's be clear. The Walking Dead has a lot of money. Do not be fooled to think that it is not one of the top money-making shows on television. They have a talk show dedicated to The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm not talking about what we do. I'm talking about Chris Hardwick is dedicated to supporting that show. So how many shows out there have their own talk show talking about a story for a show? Number one. Number two, you're absolutely right. Think about all the action figures. Think about all the stuff that they sell on their sites. Oh, Dawn of the Frank, I would not be surprised if it eclipsed $50 million an episode. Dakota, I would disagree that the budget is shit. I think the budget for a television show, for the special effects on the television show, for the amount of time that they put and the creativity they use with walkers and where they film at and block at, they're spending money on the show. And the salaries, there's no shortage of money coming in. And in addition to what they're spending on the show, think about the people that are taking a cut of every episode. What Kirkman is making. What Denise is making. What Gimple is making. I mean, they're paying some massive expenses. Which is exactly why they have the commercials. So, you know, for people to speculate that it's a money loss or a money issue, paying Lauren is not the issue. Committing to someone that may not be in a lead role is the issue. And that's something we don't know. Walking Dead playing cards, Walking Dead board games, action figures. How many people, out of curiosity, how many people have a Walking Dead action figure, a Walking Dead bobblehead, a Walking Dead pop? How many people have some sort of Walking Dead action figure? Type in 999 right now. I want you guys to kind of understand the massive nature of this franchise. I mean, this is not stuff they're going to get together and talk about on Talking Dead. This is not stuff that they're going to disclose. Because if they disclose how much money they're making and how much they're pulling in, the first thing the public's going to do is they're going to say, well, you need to cut a few of those commercials. And then that's going to be a bigger topic. And there's a royalty on all of that. Well, look, not everybody has action figures, but most people in this stream, most people watch The Walking Dead, have something Walking Dead related that they got to cut off of. So in addition to the salaries they're paying on the show, in addition to paying Chris Hardwick to talk about the show, in addition to setting up that whole ordeal, I think they're very well funded. So Epic Vid says AMC is known for underpaying their actors. That's why AMC is being sued by Frank Darabont and others. You probably have $1 billion. How much is that lawsuit? Is it a $1 billion lawsuit, Epic Vids? It's something astronomical. So, do you know why they have $1 billion lawsuit? Because they have over $1 billion. So, I don't disagree that salaries have been called into question, but you have to acknowledge the power of the franchise. And I think some people get the two things confused. If you're suing a franchise for $1 billion, it's astronomical that for the amount of years this show was the #1 show on television, that they could go to advertisers and make up their price and rake in all that money. So, absolutely, there are people involved in the franchise that probably should be compensated more. Robert Kirkman, even though he's made a fortune. But when they start making more money and they have more money at their disposal, of course, people are going to want a bigger cut of it. But I think the debate with Maggie's a little different debate. Did she deserve more money? Yeah. And were they working something out? But, once again, I'm going to defer back to whether or not her future role constituted a much, much larger paycheck. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Good point. Also, overseas profits. And overseas merchandise. How much of a boost do you think if the characters from Fear were on The Walking Dead, what do you think, and I don't think, we don't really have a scale for it, so I don't really want to put it in numerical terms. But would you not see a tremendous boost in popularity? Let's take what we know about John Dory right now. And he's starting to do well in Fear the Walking Dead. And you move all the characters over to Walking Dead. I think John Dory would immediately be a superstar, a television superstar. But that comes at a cost, right? So I'm going to put the Super Chat spotlight on Jimmy's Jammin' because this is kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier with the merge. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm giving viable solutions to why I think it should happen. So Jimmy's Jammin' says, Kills, I think you're right on. Get John and Morgan and company back to Alexandria and allow the situation to play out. So give Fear the Walking Dead one more season. Move all those characters over to the main franchise that we're so passionate about. And we've already kind of gotten a taste of them. We know who they are and what their capabilities are. So they're not newcomers that we don't know how they're going to act and what their behaviors are going to be. So you take them out of that element, and it would be a perfect ending for Fear the Walking Dead, because now you don't need The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead to end at the same place. And this is what I mean by that. So let's say both are going to find a cure. Both are going to be killed by a villain. Both are going to be overtaken by walkers. So we don't need to see that happen on both shows. And the longer you drag a show on, and I mean that in a nice, sincere way, but the longer you allow the show to go on, that didn't come out exactly right either, but you get the point. The more likely the ending stories are going to be very, very similar, which there's no shock there. But if you wanted to keep a shock factor and not let people know that are watching Fear what they could go through because we watched The Walking Dead, if you had Fear the Walking Dead ending and they pack up and say, think about it. You get another season under your belt, and then Morgan, out of the blue, says, I know a place we can survive. We're all going to Alexandria. And they pack up, and they're on the road. And that's the final episode of Fear the Walking Dead. It's a good ending. It's a nice spark, a nice boost for The Walking Dead, because then you don't have to reveal an ending. It gives it more star power to get you through Seasons 11, Seasons 12, Seasons 13. And then you get all these Fear writers, you get people back together and say, we're going up north. You could come up with whatever cool name you want to come up with. So I'm going to throw it out there to the group right now. Let's be creative. If The Walking Dead were to start a brand new spinoff, a brand new franchise, and put it up in a more northern area, what would you call the next spinoff of The Walking Dead? Get Fear 5 seasons, migrate it, and then right now, let's see if there's some creative names out there. The Freezing Dead, the Frozen Dead. I like that, the Frozen Dead. Either or, right? Now, that may mean that we struggle through one or two seasons, the Northern Dead, but here's kind of the way it went down for me in Fear. And you guys, you can definitely respond and type in how you started watching Fear and what your feelings were. So when Fear started, I was very interested to see what was going to go down in California. I didn't really like Nick's story a whole lot. It bothered me. I didn't really like Madison's overprotective mother role too much. I kind of liked Travis. I liked Alicia. Strand intrigued me. When they got on the yacht and I saw these walkers swimming, that was like, wow, that answers a lot of my questions. And then they got to Mexico and I started losing it. I couldn't relate to a lot of what was going on in the show. There would be a good episode and an episode that kind of left me wondering. And I felt like the writers, I've said this several times on streams, I felt like the writers always had to tell the story and end the story in one episode. And they didn't leave me thinking or wanting another episode. So I could either tune in the next week or not tune in the next week. And I didn't really miss anything major to the story because I knew they would always come back. And then, so by season 2, season 3, it was very frustrating to me. And a lot of our streams, I watched it, I talked about it, but I complained about it a lot. And when I saw this season and what they were going to do this season, I got excited about it again. And I started calling on people and asking you guys, asking my viewers, like, give it a chance. It's going to be so good. I've seen a couple things, and these characters are rolling out. And you know what? I stand by that 100%. I like it. It's entertaining. I think they made it into a hit. But they stand the risk of that fizzling out. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, there are a lot of throwbacks in Fear the Walking Dead that they're funny for now. They won't be funny if it becomes the same thing over and over and over again. Because there's not too much differently they can do on Fear the Walking Dead that they haven't already done on The Walking Dead. Because similar climate, similar people, similar challenges, and I think that they've done such a good job of keeping us guessing this year. I don't know that they can do that every year with 2 shows. So if you were to roll them in, then you get all that talent and all that momentum in The Walking Dead again. And then you take your chances and do The Frozen Dead. And there's your spinoff. And it would be as interesting as Fear the Walking Dead was the first few episodes because, oh, this is what life was like up there. This is their story. But then you're going to have to get it interesting really quickly. You can't wait 3 seasons again. But if they have the writing and if they got Gimple over there and if they got the talent, they could do it after a season, I feel. Just some thoughts. So that's the merge or purge. That is the dilemma. And you absolutely could. Jolene says, so the Commonwealth were in, where did they start? They were in Ohio? Is that correct? I'm not at the comic book portion of the Commonwealth, so you guys will have to excuse my lack of Commonwealth understanding. I don't have the full gist of it. So, Ohio's a little bit more north. Not a lot, but a little bit more north than Virginia. So you are moving that direction. So, yeah, you could definitely incorporate the Commonwealth into it. But maybe move them from Ohio to Michigan. Somewhere closer to the border. Somewhere with some frozen lakes. That would be what I would throw out there. So, maybe your next spinoff is the Frozen Dead, and you incorporate something big that's going to get people there, like the common. Now, that would be cool, right? You take Fear and merge them in with The Walking Dead, and if you want to have that extra spinoff series that you just want to jump into, then give the viewers something in another franchise. Give them the Commonwealth. It works for a lot of reasons. Doesn't mean that they will do it, but that's kind of my way of thinking about how they should turn the corner. Walking Dead Nerd is making an appearance at a graduation. Check this out. Popping in to check us out while going through a graduation. That is some dedication and some loyalty. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being there. Jimmy's Jammin'. Throwing out another super chat, and Jimmy says, I think they should do something to change the walkers up, like morph them out a bit, like Resident Evil, add more of an element of danger, so it's not the same old walkers. Let me process that for a second. And Jimmy, here's the beauty of this. We have an awesome army here, so I'm going to throw that question out to the group. We've seen some walkers with plants growing out of their face and some other stuff. If you added Northern franchise, the Frozen Dead. What could you do with walkers to change them up a little bit to kind of get to Jimmy's point? So let's see how creative we can be without being the funny thing about The Walking Dead, I was going to say without being unrealistic, but we watch an unrealistic show and we make it realistic to us. So that is definitely a paradox. How could you make it somewhat different and still moderately believable, I guess? Weaponize the walkers? To a degree. Dakota, I think that's a possibility. Preserve better in the cold, so it makes them, instead of slower, makes them faster, more deadly. Frostbite. I like that. There you go, Mr. Midnight. Hey, Jimmy's jamming. There's your morphing walker. So the walkers indirectly would have abilities. So some people think because they're cold that they're slow and they can't move, but maybe their body parts don't fall off and they're actually a little bit more of a threat. So Lamont G says, can walkers survive in the north? That's exactly why you have to do it. Because what they really did with Fear the Walking Dead, for me, is they showed how dangerous walkers could be underwater. That was just something I always wanted to know. So how would a walker actually function in the snow or in the ice? Because with people, there's a lot of times on The Walking Dead that even if it is, all right, I'm just going to talk about me personally for a second. As long as I got a biscuit or something, just enough energy, I can outrun any walker in the world. Proven fact. So unless they all come at a 360 degree and they're all coming in at the same time, I can always outmaneuver a walker. Guarantee it. Now, if I hadn't had any water, any food for a while, and I was moving a little bit slower, yes, potentially a slow walking walker might be able to get to me. And I'm sure most of you are the same. You could get away from it. So, when people get caught on The Walking Dead, a lot of times they're either backed up in a building or a walker was hiding in a dark space. It's like because they almost mini hibernate. They're quiet, 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 and then all of a sudden the noise comes out. Right, Willani? I could outwalk a walker. But hold on. If you were up in the north, when people are cold, they move slower. So now you could have a show that actually gives a little bit of the edge to the walkers. They're faster than the people, or as fast, and more deadly. And, think about this. Their skulls would be frozen. So the challenge of stabbing them in the brain might not work. So now you've got more of a threat. Frozen skull walkers that move faster than people, and people that are suffering to the elements that are moving slower. Advantage walkers. I'd watch it. Yeah, see? The whole army would watch that. And the other thing, you're right. So Rial says you'd have to stay out of the snow because you're walking along in the snow and somebody reaches up out of the snow. That is like the worst danger that's out there. So there's something different. Plus food challenges up in the cold. Not only are the elements going to slow you down, It's going to be more of a challenge to eat. So this video should have been merge or purge or reboot The Walking Dead, because I think we've given a lot of different options. Drama King asking about the Whisper arc. I got to think that it's going to be evident in some capacity in Season 9. I know some people are talking about a civil war between Maggie and Rick. It's hard. I mean, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. It's hard for me to think that their relationship is going to deteriorate to that level and that people are going to be willing to fight each other after they just went through a big fight. So I know that's popular. It's a somewhat popular prediction out there right now. I just don't feel that, but I could be wrong. I do think the Whisper War is a bigger threat, and however Rick leaves has to be legendary. It has to be with the hope he's going to come back or something to do with the Whispers. So I got to think that arc is going to play into it this season. I don't think the Commonwealth. I think I would not be surprised to see the Commonwealth involved with Fear in some way, shape, or fashion. Or Jadis. Yep. Dawn of the Frank, I'm right there with you. I mean, if Rick dies, I could definitely see the Rick on a stick. But I just don't think they're going to do that. Like, from a writing standpoint, I always, when I look at these storylines and some of the predictions, I think about if I were a writer and I really wanted to keep people engaged, how would I do it? And it's just, Rick ain't going to get bit by a walker. That's what happened to his son. Rick ain't going to die in a way that somebody else died. So either Rick has to get this amazing Whisperer death that's going to be this everlasting image, like Robert Baratheon getting his head chopped. I mean, that's the type of thing that's going to happen to Rick. It's going to have to be really major. Or, as I said before, it's a better thing for me if you really want to keep the audience interested and you really want people to come back and think that there's a chance and give them a little bit of hope. Find a good way within the story to let him leave. That he just got fed up. That he had to get away. That his leadership is being questioned. That he just can't take it anymore. Or something happened to Judith. And I could see those things happening. But if you kill him, you got to have something big lined up. It's going to be a tough half of the season for them. I will watch The Walking Dead just like I watched Fear the Walking Dead when it was bad. It ain't going to be easy if they kill Rick just to kind of pick up the pieces and say, next man up. It won't. I mean, there are different stories out there, but there's some people that are much harder to place than others, and he's definitely one of those. All right, everybody, we are at 1 hour and 3 minutes. I have to tell you, we've done 3 streams in a row, and you look up, you look down, and it's like, bam, an hour is gone. This is the fastest hour on YouTube, and you know what? There's, I won't say there's no commercials, because there are commercials in the playback, and hopefully there's a lot of them, and you guys all click on them and watch them and do all that cool stuff. If you guys could do me a favor in all seriousness, though, we got 120, 130, 140 people in and out the door. If everybody could slap that like button. A lot of people already have, so thank you to the 999 Army. And I'm going to go ahead and do some shout-outs. It is more likely than not that we will do a stream tomorrow night. So I know Friday is usually our, maybe we're on, maybe we're off, but there's so many good Walking Dead topics out there. It's possible. I'm going to say we're 50-50. If you are on our Facebook page, you'll see a post sometime toward the early afternoon that will say, yes, we're a go for tonight, or no, we're not. Or if you're hanging out on YouTube and you want to check out at 9:30, then maybe you will be pleasantly surprised, and we'll see. It's not 100% just yet, but I'm leaning more toward doing a broadcast. There will be nothing on Saturday, and of course we will have 3 streams going on Sunday. Crazy, crazy busy day. And we'll probably next week get more back into our regular schedule with The Walking Dead, with our predictions. We're going to try to incorporate a new theme at some point called Monday Memes. I don't want to divulge everything with that. I'm still working on the creative content with that. I think there's a entertaining, funny way that we can do things. I just don't want it to get too extreme and get too crazy. But that's something maybe you can look forward to in the future. And we should be back with Game of Thrones on Thursday. So appreciate everything that you guys are doing. The channel is, I'm just so blessed all the people are part of this, and all the things and all the participation and the different risk that we take with some of these streams and mixing up doing different things. And we just have an amazing support group that makes that fun. So appreciate everybody. Give me a quick 9 on 9. I'm going to give you a shout out. If you're watching the playback, this is the end of the video. But for everybody, once this video goes live, make sure you leave some comments. And if you see somebody leave a comment to their comment, because that's really what our interaction is all about. So thank you to all the patrons. You can see them all up in the top right corner. The sponsors, everything that you guys do, appreciate that as well. Also the super chatters. I saw Jimmy's Jammin', Pete D, Epic Vids, a lot of people here every night. Valar, that are making contributions to the channel, and with the super chats, they're also getting their thoughts and getting the conversation involved. So I appreciate that. It's kind of a dual benefit. And to the rest of the 999 Army, I want to say thank you, and here are your shout outs. I want to start with Deborah Cox, also Samantha Coombs, Lieutenant Ripley, Jimmy's Jammin', Alicia James, Gina Crockett, Julia Drums, Jason the Mixologist. See that gold star up there for the sponsorship. What's up, Jason? Thank you so much. Drama King, New York City. It's time to check the tapes. Felix, thanks for being here. Felix Plays. Tommy the Sweet Ass Enforcer McCandless. Actually, all my moderators are absolutely amazing. Emmy, Steph, Kels, and Tommy. You guys rock. Thank you for everything that you guys do. Dawn of the Frank. Appreciate it. Anna Hume, Janet C. Jolene, thank you. Ron Burgundy. Thanks so much, Ron. Walking Dead Girl, thank you so much. Felix, Hippo in the House. Who else we got? Diane Estes, thank you so much, Diane. Drama King just went hashtag wash Daryl now. That's going to be trending very soon. Sergeant Chosen One, thank you so much. Bumblebee Brown, Arena Hunter. Mitch True, thank you so much. eBeach72, Maggie B, always a pleasure, Maggie. John the Great, Tanya's Doc Stater, thank you, Tanya. Beth Brigette, what's up, B Squared? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here, your participation. Mr. Midnight, hit that like button, Midnight. Thank you. Kills, can I get a shout out for my friend Hope, who I'm watching with? What's up, Hope Hippo? Of course you can. I like it. Epic Vids, freezing dead in Canada. Trust me. I mean, that is entertainment at its finest. If it happens, I swear to you, 999 Army is going to go knock on Gimple's door, and we're all going to request a royalty because we created that concept. So maybe we can get some free bobbleheads or something out of the whole deal. Thank you so much, KCF. Appreciate you being here. Rial, thank you. Garrett Farmer, appreciate you being here, Garrett. Vector. I'm going to stick around just for another minute or so, make sure we get some shout-outs. So there's some people who are running on different speeds. Try to get as many as we can. If I ever miss you in a shout-out, it's completely random because I think you guys can see how fast this screen streams up. So I know sometimes I miss people 3 or 4 streams in a row, but just be persistent. Just understand if I do miss you in a shout-out, you are just as important as anybody I shout out. So absolutely appreciate everything that you guys do. Tegan, thank you so much. Sam B. Rial has lots of snow and property. There you go. So they can reach out. We already have a place to film. Kelly Golan's in here. Thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate you being here. The Canada dead. Okay. The Saskatchewan dead. I wouldn't be able to spell it. I could say it. What's up, Fluff? Fluff and Kale. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much for being here, Talion. All right, everybody. So many awesome ideas. Appreciate the interaction, the feedback, everything that you guys do. I know I missed a few. I will catch you guys on the next one. If I missed you, just leave it in the comments below. And once again, you guys do a ton of stuff for this channel. When this video goes live, leave a couple comments. And when you see other people have a question as part of the Army, get over there and answer their question. They'd appreciate the interaction. And this way, we're just going to continue to build a bigger and bigger network. Thanks so much, everybody. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.